Accessibility is not simply about students with disabilities. Accessibility is about targeting the average user so they can modify the content to meet their needs. By targeting the small set of UDL accessibility features that follow, we can implement digital learning materials that are both materially compliant with existing regulations and enhance learning opportunities for students with and without disabilities. Number 1. Built-in structure and headings. Instead of just changing the font size, weight, or color to segment a document, use the Styles and Headings function in Google Docs or Microsoft Word. Number 2. Links. Links embedded in text should describe the link's destination. Number 3. Images. Provide alternative or alt text to convey the purpose of an image, including pictures, illustrations, and charts. Number 4. Use text, not a picture of text. When text is present in a document, it should be text, not a picture of text. Number 5. Tables. Create tables with column and/or row headers. And number 6. Media. Captioning is a UDL tool that benefits all students. More than half of students participating in a national survey are using closed captions in their educational videos to focus, retain information, and overcome poor audio. Number 1. Built-in structure and headings for Microsoft Word. Let's talk about using styles in Word to create built-in structure. When you're creating a document in Word, don't worry about getting it formatted. Get it written. If you can cleanly lay something out first, we'll go back and format it later. Now we're going to use styles to format, and there's a lot of power behind that beyond simply making the document accessible. Let's look at styles. The Style Gallery is front and center here in the Home tab. To format this text, I can select the style that I want. There's a live preview that shows what it looks like. And if I don't like this, I can change the way the styles look. Now, there are two ways to change styles. One is to right-click and select Modify. In this case, I want heading 1 to be Calibri Body, 22 point, bold, and then black. I also want to center this. Select OK. And now you see the live preview has changed. I'm going to select heading 1. Now for my subheadings, I'm going to use heading 2. But again, I want to change how they look visually. This time, I'm going to start by editing the font first. So I'll make this Calibri 16 point and just bold. Now, if I right-click on the font or this heading, I can select Update Heading 2 to match the selection. So you can see visually it's changed. And for each of my subheadings, I'll change that to heading 2. And how are vaccines developed is my last subheading. Now the other thing you may notice is once we've applied heading 2, heading 3 automatically popped up. I'm going to use heading 3 to pull these bits of information out and make them bold. So heading 3, update heading 3 to match selection. And I'm going to apply this to 2 sets of text at once. You could do more by holding the Control button down after I selected one, Control, select the other. Now I'll go to heading 3, and we have heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3. Now, this document will be accessible, but let's look at a couple added benefits of styles. Let's go to the View tab and select the navigation pane. This shows all of the headings and subheadings that we've created here. So if I want to go to bodies and antigens, different types of antibodies, how are vaccines developed, and if I want to edit this document, I can select in the navigation pane different types of antibodies and just pull it up, and that whole section automatically moves up. This navigation pane is what screen readers use when they're reading a document for accessibility. Now, another advantage in this is if we look at the References tab, let's say that this is a very large document and we want to create a table of contents. If we select Table of Contents, they're automatically built on our headings. So an automatic table of contents is built based on the headings that we prepared in the document. It's a short document, but imagine how much time you could save in a large document. Now I'm going to get out of this because I don't want a table of contents here. Now the same principle applies if you're using lists. How are vaccines developed? There are 5 basic approaches to developing vaccines, and I want to use a numbered list for these, and then I'm going to reference that in my table below. So let's go home, and under the paragraph, use the list buttons. That way, your document will have greater built-in structure. It'll be usable to folks who need it for accessibility, but it's also going to be a better formatted document and make it more usable for you.
Built-in structure and headings for Google Docs.
Headings in Google Docs is similar in nature to Word, but because Google Docs is essentially a web page, your options for heading are not as robust as in Word. The same way, you can select what are antibodies and apply a heading, and do the same for headings 2 and 3. If you want to modify the heading, there's no option to directly modify, but you could modify the text and select Update Headings to match. In this case, I'm not. I'm simply going to apply heading 2. And you can see on the left side of the screen here that as we apply headings, their navigation pane is developed. While we're down in here, we'll use our numbered list to create that. Now, because Google Docs is a web page and the options aren't quite as robust, if I want to pull these bits of information out, I can make them heading 3, but that formatting applies to the whole paragraph. I can go back and manually move this back to the way it was. Heading 3. Don't want italics, don't want bold, do want 11. Now, in the same way that we could in Word, we can navigate around our document, but as I said, the options are not as robust. You can't move sections around, but this does serve as a navigation tool. So that's essentially headings, and lists in Google Docs. Links in Microsoft Word. Links embedded in text should describe the link's destination. This link goes to a video from the Vaccine Makers Project that illustrates how antibodies work. Now, this is not quite as bad as a click here, but it's still not very descriptive of where the link is actually going. So to change this, right-click and select Edit Hyperlink, and at the top of this window you can see text to display. We'll just select that and type link to video that illustrates how how antibodies work. So this is the text that will be displayed and will be read by a screen reader software, and the address down here is still where it's going to link to. Select OK. We can see how that changes, and that's all you need to do to edit your links to describe where they're going. Editing links in Google Docs. Editing links in Google Docs to describe the link location is very similar. Here's our link with the URL to the YouTube video, and if we click on that, it shows the title, and we have an option to replace the URL with its title. And if we select yes, that title goes up here, and if that's descriptive enough, then that's all you need to do. If you don't believe it is, then select the edit link, select the text that you want to display. In this case, I'm not going to bore you with my typing. Link to video on how antibodies work, apply, and this is the text that will be displayed and read by screen readers. That's all we need to do in Google Docs. Alternative text, also known as alt text or alt tags, is the written copy that appears in place of an image on a web page if the image fails to load on a user's screen. That text helps screen reading tools describe images to visually impaired readers and allows search engines to find pictures. If you've ever searched Google for an image, one of the tools that Google uses is the alt text of an image. Now we're going to look at a process for adding alt text to an image for our Word files. Now this process works for current Word documents that have the extension docx. If you have an old version of Word and it generates DOC files, the process is slightly different. So the first thing we're going to do is right-click on the image and select Format Picture. In the settings to the right of our window, there are several options, and we're going to look at the option for Layout and Properties. And in Layout and Properties, we're going to select Alt Text. And we're going to title this Picture 1. And our description is an illustration of antibodies responding to an infection with the new coronavirus that causes the disease COVID-19. Close this window, and that's all we need to do to add alt text to an image in Word. Number 3, images. Adding alt text in Google Docs. The process of adding alt text to an image in Google Docs is a little bit easier than Word. All we need to do is right-click on the image and select alt text. We'll put a title in and our description. Select OK, and that's all we need to do to create alt text in Google Docs. Number 4, use text, not a picture of text. For a document to be accessible, the text in a document needs to be actual text, not a picture of text. Occasionally, we'll take a screen capture of something that looks like text and embed it in our document, but it's actually a picture. But the overwhelming largest offender of documents that look like they're text but are actually pictures are PDF files that have been created from a scanner. Now, there are ways in the full version of Adobe Acrobat to add the accessibility tags that are necessary to create PDF files or create them accessibly, and there are lots of tutorials online to walk you through that. But we're going to look at the absolute easiest way to create accessible PDF files, and that's by starting with an accessible Word document. And we can tell if our document is accessible by selecting File, Info, Check for Issues, Check Accessibility, and the accessibility checker will walk us through each portion of our document that is not minimally accessible, tell us why we need to fix it and how to fix it. So I have gone through that, fixed all of that in this document, that if I look at the accessibility check, find that there are no accessibility issues. So now if I save this as a PDF file, it will save as an accessible PDF file. And to do that, we'll go to File, Save As, browse to where we want this to be, and under File, Save As Type, we're going to choose PDF. Select Options and make sure that the box for document structure tags for accessibility is checked. Select OK, select Save, and that's all we need to do to create a PDF file that meets accessibility standards. 5. Tables. Making them accessible in Microsoft Word. All right, let's look at table data and making those data accessible. There are 5 basic approaches to developing vaccines. I found a table online that discusses the advantages and disadvantages. So I'm going to include that table, the advantages and disadvantages to each approach, and I'm going to reference them in Table 1. Now the table is down here, and I just made a screen capture of something I found online. This is not going to be at all accessible. So what I'll need to do first is create an actual table. Let's go to Insert, Table, 3 columns, by 6. Next, we'll put our data in and make the table accessible. Now we've replaced our picture of a table with an actual table, and there are a few ways to check the accessibility of our table. First, try navigating all the way through your table using only the Tab key. If you can tab smoothly through the table cell by cell and row by row, a screen reader should have no trouble with it. In English language tables, the Tab key should move from left to right, starting at the top left cell and ending in the bottom right. Now let's consider using a designated header row for the table. Designated header rows make it easier for a screen reader to navigate your table, and some screen readers will call out the name of a row or column before reading the data. To designate a row as a header, select it, then right-click and choose Table Properties. Select the Row tab and check Repeat as Header Row at top of each page. Also, be sure to uncheck Allow Row to break across pages. Now, while we have the Table Properties window open, it's a good time to check our table's alt text. I've already filled this in, so the title of our table is Table 1, and the description is Advantages and Disadvantages of 5 Vaccine Types. Once we have a header row and alt text ready, choose OK, and our table should be reasonably accessible. Number 5, Tables in Google Docs. In our Google Docs document, I've replaced the picture of a table with an actual table. Remembering that Google Docs is not as robust as Word, there aren't any options to define a row as a header row, or to create alt text for a table. Most screen readers assume the first row of a table functions as a header row. So the only thing we can do to make this table accessible in Google Docs is use appropriately detailed descriptors in the first row of our table. Number 6, media, captioning. Captioning your videos with YouTube is a fairly simple process. As a G Suite user, you already have a YouTube account. Simply log into it and select Create and Upload Videos. Uploading videos is the same process you would use to upload to your Google Drive or anything else. Select Files, navigate to your videos, and upload them. I've already uploaded this accessibility video, so we can move through the process from here. Let's look at subtitles in the left. Now, YouTube automatically adds subtitles when the video uploads. So I'm going to double click on this from subtitles. To edit the captions that are automatically generated, select the 3 vertical dots options to the right of Published and choose Edit on Classic Studio. And then select the Edit button. I'm going to bring this back to the beginning, and you can see on the left-hand side, as I move the timeline, the captions are changing. I'm going to let this run and pause the video till we find a place to actually make a correction. Now here, when you're creating a documented Word, I actually tried to say document in Word. So all I need to do to change that caption is click in the text box, backspace, in, and it changes the captions. That's all you need to do for editing. Now I'm going to let this finish and then we'll take a look at what we need to do next. Once you've completed your edits, save changes, and return to YouTube Studio. If you want to share your newly captioned video with students or other folks, back in YouTube Studio, select the 3 dots for Options and Get Shareable Link. That will copy the link to the clipboard, and you can add it then to Schoology, paste it into a Google Doc, or share it however you would share any other link. Now there is an option here to download the video. If you download this video, YouTube will download the video without the captions. If you want a copy of the captioned video on your desktop, you'll have to use one of the many programs or websites that allow you to download YouTube videos, so that would download it with the captions. From YouTube, the best we can do is get a shareable link. So those are 6 essential steps to making documents and media accessible for our students. If you have additional questions, email us accessibility@acpsmd.org.